requirement modeling or modeling requirements, which basically in Babok V3 falls under the requirement analysis and modeling. So we'll be looking at how to model requirements. How do we draw a model? In this instance, models are considered to be diagrams to represent or to back up the specifications that we have written. So if you write a use case specification, how do you draw a model to back it up? For instance, a use case model, right? How do you draw a process flow model to back up series of user flows or processes you have specified, you know? So we are going to be looking at all of that, and today we'll have our focus on use case modeling. But before we look at use case modeling, let's just get to understand what requirement modeling is and why it is important, or what the benefit it is for us to actually model requirements. So modeling requirements has to do with the use of a descriptive and visual way to convey information. We use graphical or visual way to represent the requirements we are trying to communicate, we are trying to analyze to our stakeholders. And that's what we do when we try to model requirements. Modeling requirements allows us to organize our requirements in multiple ways. It allows us to discover missing information. It allows us to discover missing processes and missing components. Sometimes you might feel that you've just written a user story and acceptance criteria, and you've basically covered every scenario or aspect of that user story in your acceptance criteria. But by the time you draw a cross-functional flowchart, or should I say process model, you might realize that there's a step, or there could be a step or a process or activity or task that you have completely omitted when you're writing or when you're considering your acceptance criteria. So that's part of the thing that modeling requirements helps us to understand. It helps us to create more room for analysis. It also helps us to understand the extent of what needs to be implemented, or should I say the extent of what needs to be done. They are basically, you'll be looking at two types of models in the context of this program. Number one is the UML use case model. And number two is the cross-functional flowcharts. UML stands for Universal Modeling Language. It's a universal modeling tool that we use to represent or visualize interaction between a system and its actor. So we are going to go right into understanding what the use case is, that is UML use case diagram, is benefits, what are the various components, and what are the basic rules we need to put into consideration when we are drawing them. So a use case diagram is a requirement model that basically shows the interaction between the actors and a system. It shows the relationship between an actor or set of actors and a system. Using the e-voting solution or e-voting system as a case in point, we know that we have three actors that will have access to the e-voting system: the super admin, the EMC, which is the election monitoring committee, and the eligible voter. These are the three people that are going to have access to the e-voting system. If we want to draw a use case model, a UML use case model for this e-voting system, what it means is that we will basically be drawing a diagram that will show the relationship between the actors, the super admin, the EMC, and the eligible voter, their relationship with the e-voting solution, with the e-voting system. That is what we do when we say we want to draw a use case diagram of a use case diagram, UML use case diagram for an e-voting solution. A UML use case diagram has four key components. Number one is the actor. Two is the use case. Three are the relationships. Four is the system boundary. right? These are the 4 key components of a use case diagram or UML use case diagram. And this is a typical structure of a UML use case diagram. We have the actor, who is this person. We have the relationship, which is this arrow, or should I say line. We have the use case, which is this oval looking shape. And then we have the system, the system boundary, which is this rectangular shape. This is a typical structure of a use case diagram, or should you say the atomic unit of a use case diagram. Now, let's take a look at each of these components of a use case diagram, what they mean, and what are the things we need to put into consideration when we are trying to draw them. Starting with the actor. An actor basically can be an organization, it could be a person, or it could even be another external system that has a relationship or that plays a role in one or more interactions with our system. So sticking with the e-voting solution, an actor could be a person that is either the super admin or the EMC or the eligible voter, or an organization, just like we said, PwC or EY will have to audit the system. It could be an organization. It could even be an external system. For instance, if we say the e-voting system will be integrated to another system that will enable you to share information or send information to that system or receive information from that system. In such instances, we consider that person or that organization or that external system that has a role to play in our system, which is the e-voting, to be an actor. This is basically a description of who an actor is in the context of UML use case diagrams. To draw an actor, we must ensure that we draw the actor outside of the system boundary. The actor is not drawn inside the system boundary. It is drawn outside the system boundary, just like we have in this diagram. The actor is drawn outside of the system boundary and not inside the system boundary. You have to take good note of that. Also, you need to ensure that you name your actors with singular business relevant noun. For instance, super admin, customer. You don't call your actor customers. No, you give it a singular business relevant noun. If you are drawing UML use case diagram for an e-commerce solution or e-commerce system, it makes no sense for you to start calling your actor eligible voter or to start calling your actor doctor or nurse. Your actor will most likely be a buyer or a customer, right? That will be the typical name you might want to call your actor. So call your actor, name or title your actor based on their business domain that the solution is relevant to, and let it be a singular noun, a singular name. Also, you must associate your actor with at least one or more use cases. That means an actor must have a relationship with at least one use case. You can't have an actor in your UML use case diagram without a relationship with a use case in the system boundary. So an actor must have at least one relationship with a use case. Also, you need to be aware that your actors basically model roles and not position. That means they represent roles. What I mean by this is that, assuming in our EMC we have three positions in our EMC: EMC1, EMC2, EMC3. And then it is the duty of the EMC1 to, maybe these 3 EMC members are responsible for opening and closing election. These 3 EMC members are responsible for opening and closing election. And probably to open election, the first EMC1, the EMC1 will need to enter his 2-digit code. EMC2 will enter another 2-digit code, and EMC3 will enter his or her own 2-digit code, which is 6-digit code to open the election. Now, when we are drawing our UML use case diagram and we are trying to represent the EMC, it is not, we should ensure that we only have one UMC actor. We are not going to be having EMC1 as an actor, EMC2 as an actor, EMC3 as an actor. Rather, we'll have only one actor because that actor represents the role. That role is EMC. It is not representing the position or a position of EMC1, EMC2, EMC3, EMC4, or whatever EMC. You need to be able to take note of that. Another component that we look at as well is a use case. A use case represents a function or an action that an actor would need to perform on a system. So use cases are considered to be the functions of the system, or should I say functionalities of the system. And that is why the UML use case diagram helps to communicate the functional requirements from a modeling or diagrammatic standpoint. Some of the basic rules we need to put into consideration when drawing a use case is that your use case must begin with a strong verb. You do not start your use case naming with a noun or an adjective. You start the naming with a verb. Things like create accounts, things like register course, things like transfer fund. You must ensure you start with a verb. Things like withdraw fund, things like close account. You won't say account closure or account creation or course registration or fund transfer. No, you must start your use case naming with a verb. Also, you need to ensure that your use case has domain-specific terminologies. What I mean by this, if you are drawing a UML use case diagram for a financial solution, you should ensure that the terminologies that you're using relates to that particular financial solution or relates to financial services. Like open account, you won't say create account, you say open account, because for financial domain, you open accounts, you don't create accounts. You don't put fund, you deposit fund, right? You withdraw fund, you don't remove fund, you withdraw it, because that is a terminology that is used for that particular domain. So you need to ensure that you use domain-specific terminologies when naming your use case. And also, one good rule of thumb or one good practice is to ensure that you place the primary use case at the top of every other use case. What this means is that the primary use case is considered as the very first functionality that needs to be carried out on that particular system. Most times, it is either the account creation, that is the create account use case, or the login use case. So you must ensure that the primary use case is the very first use case that you place on top of every other use cases in your diagram. These are the things you need to put in mind whenever you are drawing use cases in your UML use case diagram. Another component we'll be looking at are relationships. And these are the most tricky components, right? You need to know what does each of these relationships stand for. So we have 4 types of relationships. We have association, we have generalization, we have extend, and we have include. For association relationship, the arrow does not have a head. Excuse me. The arrow for your association relationship does not have any form of head. It is just a straight arrow, a straight line, and is used to represent the direct relationship between an actor and the use case. That is what we use the association relationship for. We use it to depict or to represent the relationship between an actor and a use case. The Association relationship must always be drawn between an actor and a use case, and it should not have any form of arrowhead. Is this very first one that you see here? Then we have the next one, which is generalization relationship. Generalization relationship is used to represent a parent to inheriting actor relationship. So I put inheriting use case should be inheriting actor. So a parent to inheriting use case or inheriting actor relationship. That is what we use generalization relationship for. It certainly has an arrowhead, and it can be used to show actor-to-actor relationship. It can also be used to show use case to use case relationship. And when we are drawing a generalization relationship, the arrowhead would always be pointing towards the parent use case or the parent actor. I'll clarify to you guys what a parent and what an inheritor is when I go into practice. Okay, when I draw an example use case model. All right. The next relationship we're looking at is the extend relationship. The extend relationship explains when it is not mandatory for an actor to perform an inheriting use case after completing the parent use case. So let me give an instance here. I think maybe at this point I'll have no other choice than to explain the parent and inheriting scenario. You can agree with me that most times when you make a voice call or a video call on WhatsApp, you see when you make a call, a voice or video call on WhatsApp, and you are done with your call, once you drop the call, you see like a pop-up that will tell you to rate your experience. I don't know if you've experienced that before.
Yes, I've done that. I've seen that many times.
Yeah. Now I want to also ask you a question. If you send me a chat, if you don't make a call throughout the whole week on WhatsApp, voice or video, and you're only focused on sending chats, would they tell you to rate your experience? That's to rate your call experience. Yeah. That is because that feedback or that page or that screen that requests the users to rate their experience comes as a result of a call being made, as a result of the user terminating their call, right? Now, in the context of parent and inheriting, the parent use case is that functionality to terminate a call, and the inheriting use case is that functionality to rate experience. That is what parent and inheriting does. Another example is when you create accounts on a platform with your email address and password, they will tell you to verify your email address, right? That if you don't verify your email address, your account creation will not be complete. That means it's mandatory for you to verify your email address. If you don't create an account on that platform, there will be no need for you to go and verify email address. You can agree with me, yes or no?
Yes.
Now, this is also a typical scenario of a parent and inheriting relationship or inheriting scenario. The parent is the account creation. The inheriting is the verify your email. So it means immediately we finish creating accounts, this particular screen automatically should come up. So whichever functionality that comes up as a result of completing another task is considered to be inheriting that particular functionality, and the functionality that it's been inherited is called the parent. Now, in extend and include relationship, when it is not mandatory for us to perform the inheriting use case, we use an extend relationship for those two use cases. Case in point is that of WhatsApp. When you finish making a voice call or a video call, and the screen for you to rate your experience comes up. If you choose not to rate your experience and you click on skip or cancel, or you click on the close icon to close that particular pop up. Does that mean that next time WhatsApp will not allow you to make a call? Yes or no?
No.
That means you can still make your call, voice or
Sure.
video call another time. It simply means that rating your experience is not a mandatory action that needs to be carried out. But that rate your experience action always comes after you have what? Ended your call. Hence, when you are representing the rate your experience and end call relationship in your use case model, you use the extend relationship to represent them. I'll show that to you when I'm also drawing. And then the opposite of, some of the rules for extend relationship is that for extend relationship, the arrowhead would always point to the parents. So for an extend use case, the arrowhead will be pointing towards the parents. The inheriting use case would be placed below the parents use case. And extend relationship is only used for a use case to use case relationship. You don't use it for actor to use case, neither do you use it for actor to actor. You use it only for use case to use case relationship. Now, the opposite of extend use case is the include use case. Sorry, include relationship. Beg your pardon. That is the opposite of an extend relationship. An include relationship helps to explain when an action is mandatory for that actor to perform after completing the parent use case. A typical example is when you are creating accounts on any platform. You enter your first name, your last name, whatever credentials you want to collect, asks you to provide your email address, your password, your accept terms or condition. You click sign up or create account or register or whatever name they title the button, that functionality. Immediately you click on create accounts or register or sign up, right? Immediately you click on that button, there will be a form that an email, a link has been sent to the email address you provided, and you must verify your address before you can proceed. It means it is mandatory for you to complete that action before the parent use case can be considered to be complete. If you do not verify your verify your email address, your account creation would not be considered to be complete. In such scenarios, whereby you must complete the inheriting use case, or you must perform the inheriting use case in order to complete the parent use case, that is where we use the include relationship. So the include relationship comes where it is mandatory to perform the inheriting use case in order to complete the parent use case. One of the rules we have when drawing the include relationship is that the arrowhead, unlike your extend relationship, whereby the arrowhead is pointing to the parents, in an include relationship, the arrowhead is pointing to the inheriting use case. Also, it is used exclusively for use case to use case relationship. You don't use include relationship for actor to actor or actor to use case. It is exclusively for use case to use case relationship. As well, you need to ensure that you draw the inheriting use case to the right of the parent use case. In extend relationship, you draw the inheriting use case below the parent use case. But in include relationship, you draw the inheriting use case to the right of the parent use case. Now, the last component to be looking at is the system boundary. The system boundary represents the system under consideration. Anything that is not inside the system boundary is not considered a functionality of the system. So if you have create account use case and it is not drawn inside the system boundary, we will not consider that functionality to be within the scope of the system. So the system boundary is representing a box that contains all the functions of the system. And we do not draw the actors inside the system boundary. We draw them outside the system boundary. And that is because an actor is not a function of the system. It's basically someone that plays a role or is a user or has a relationship with the system. I don't know if you have any questions before we go into practice.
I think you can go on. I have no question.
How about you, Mitchell?
None.
Okay, you understand the relationship bit of include, extend, generalization, and association, because these are basically the tricky aspect of drawing a use case model. Many people still get it wrong till date. Some people that have been practicing business analysis for over 4 years still get extend, include relationship very wrong. They still get the generalization relationship very wrong. And that is because it's very technical, it's very tricky rather. If you don't understand what they stand for, you would mix them up. So are we clear on that, or we should go ahead to do the practice?
Let's go ahead.
All right, cool. So for you to actually draw a use case diagram, I just took our time to bring up the basic step you could follow. Number one of the step that you will follow will be, okay. Number one of the steps that you follow will be for you to list out all the actions or functions of that particular system. After you've been able to do that, the next thing for you will be to draw the system boundary, which some people consider the black box or the big rectangle, right, to represent the system. And then you draw out all the actors. You draw the actors outside the system boundary. So it depends. If you want to use one system boundary to represent all actors in the use case, you cannot draw all the actors outside of the system boundary. Then after that, you draw the use cases inside the system boundary. So all of the use cases are the functions of and actions you have itemized. You begin to draw all of them inside the system boundary. And then last of all, you link the relationships between actor to actor, between use case to use case. You link your relationships. That is a typical step to draw a use case model or UML use case diagram. Now, let's do some practice, right? Let's get our hands dirty. So I'm just going to project my screen. Let me stop sharing this screen and then share another. So let me know when you see my new screen. All right, can you see my new screen? That is my browser.
Yes, it's showing now.
Okay.
Yes.
So, okay, cool. So you guys pretty much remember the e-voting requirements that we'll be using to practice all along. So let me just open one here. Let me get the high-level requirements here. And I'm going to use it to draw our use case model. So this is the requirements that has been elicited from IIBA for their e-voting solution. They're basically going to be, there's basically going to be 3 actors: super admin, EMC, and eligible voter. And these are the functions that the super admin will do. And these are the functions that EMC and also eligible voter is going to do. I know we've gone through these requirements, I think about 2-3 times, right? So I won't go deeper to us reading through the requirements again. We'll just go straight into the practice. So there are different tools that we can use to draw models, right? Or model requirements in business analysis. Let me just list out some of the tools. The most legacy tool is Microsoft Visio. Microsoft Visio is a legacy tool that has been used over the years in drawing use case diagram. We also have Lucy charts. We use that in drawing use case model, or should I say drawing requirement models in general. We have diagrams.net I'll be using today. I'll be using diagrams.net today. There's also another interesting tool which is making the wave very fast and very quick. Is a Mirror. I love this tool a lot. I use it as well. So we use it in modeling requirement. There are several other tools that we use in modeling requirements. You can go on and Google search, but these are like the commonly used ones in the industry. Irrespective of whichever tool you are using, the shapes are the same and the concept is the same. So my objective is to let you understand the concept, which is what I've just taught for the past 30 minutes or thereabouts, or should I say for the past 40 minutes. So now we're going to draw a use case diagram, and we'll be using our diagrams.net. To use diagrams.net, just go to your browser and type www.diagrams.net. It will open and it will guide you through a series of prompts on how to come to this particular drawing board. It's easy, it's not difficult. Just follow simple steps and you find yourself here. Now, when you open the board, right? When you open the board, you come to this place, search shapes, and you can type use case in this search shapes menu. Now, when you do that, you get the result of the various use case shapes. So this is your system boundary, a rectangular box. This is your use case, the shape. This is your actor, which you have here. This is your communication parts. What is his name? Diagrams.net call association communication parts. Why Visio call it association? This is your include relationship. This is your include relationship. You see that the arrow is pointing forward. That is because the include relationship the arrowhead points towards the inheriting use case. And this is your extend relationship. You see that automatically off. You see that automatically the arrowhead points backward. That is because in your extend relationship, the arrowhead points back to the parent. And this is your generalization relationship, just as I've shown you guys from the presentation slide. So this is your generalization relationship as we have them. So we are going to use these components to draw a UML use case model for the e-voting solution, for the IIBA e-voting solution. So I'm going to delete all this and we start afresh. First, I'll bring my system boundary. I'll try to expand it as much as possible so I can use or leverage all that I have. I'll also title it, so I'll double click and title it IIBA e-voting system. Right? I'll title it IIBA e-voting system because that is the title of the system. So any use case inside here will be considered a functionality or action that will be performed on the IIBA e-voting system. Now, there are basically three actors: the super admin. What is this? Come on. Yep, the super admin, you can select and do Control D to duplicate the eligible voter. Eligible voter. And then let's duplicate as well for our EMC. Let's put our EMC maybe down here. As Election Monitoring Committee. These are our three actors, right? Remember, is first you have your requirements or your functionalities written down. You draw the system boundary, which is this. Then you draw your actors outside the system boundary. Then you now begin to place your use cases. So the first use case, remember, you have to place primary use case at the top. First thing that will be done will be to log in. So log in. Another function or action that will be done will be to upload data, or let's say upload eligible voters' credentials. Right? Okay, you got this one right. Then Control D again to upload candidate profile. Upload candidate's profile. Then the next one will be to view vacant position. Also, view candidates. Then he selects candidates. Let's say choose, since it's an election, so we choose candidates, we don't select. So choose is not a selection, it's an election, right? So you choose candidates to vote. Choose candidates to vote. And then you submit your vote. Submit votes. Also, you rate your experience. Remember, as part of the requirement you are giving, you rate experience. You rate experience. Another one is to log out. Log out. Another one is to open election. Open election. And I think another one, let's just stop there for today. We'll stop here for today. Will be to obviously close election. So I'm going to ask you guys, who logs into the system? Is it only the EMC or eligible voter or the super admin or all of them?
All of them.
How about you, Mitchell? What do you think?
All of them log in.
All of them log in, right? And everyone also logs out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, what relationship would this eligible voter, super admin, and EMC have with the login? These are the relationships.
Yeah.
So what relationship do these have?
It is association.
Yeah. So it's going to have association relationship.
Yeah.
Because actor and use case only share association relationships and not generalization, nor extend, nor include.
Yeah.
Who uploads eligible voter credentials as well as upload candidate profile?
Super admin.
Good. So you have your super admin. I'm simply doing Control D to duplicate the particular shape. So I'm duplicating the association, right? Who views vacant position?
Mitchell, are you trying?
Okay, Michelle, who views vacant position?
I really can't see anything. That's the problem. Because I'm using my, sorry. No, not because I can see, but everything is so tiny.
Okay, because you are on your phone.
Yes, that's just the challenge I have.
Okay, let me answer the question.
So
that should be eligible.
Wait, Ahmad. So you remember the requirements we'll be talking about all this while, right? I know I've shared with you several times. And I think at some point, the first time you had one I read through the requirements for us.
Exactly.
And we discussed the various requirements that was provided to us by stakeholders for IIBA e-voting solution. Now, from that requirement, who is supposed to have access to view vacant position, to view candidates' information?
The voter, the eligible voter.
Okay, that was just what I needed from you.
Yeah.
I would have preferred if you're using your system for the class. That will also help you to
Okay,
participate.
I'm able to zoom in. I think I'm starting to see some of it.
Okay, great.
Then view candidates is the eligible voter as well. Then choose candidate to vote is also the eligible voter.
Yeah.
Submission of votes is the eligible voter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, rate experience is eligible voter, right? But this action or function is only prompted when they submit their votes. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
If you don't submit your votes, they'll need for you to rate experience, right?
Sure.
So what relationship are we going to do? Now, this rating of experience, is it mandatory or it is optional?
It is optional.
Okay, that means we're going to use what type of relationship to represent these two?
Extend.
How about you, Mitchell?
Yes, the same. Yes.
So why do you think extend, Mitchell? Why do you think it should be extend?
Because one is the parent relationship, and the other one is, I'm trying to remember the second one.
Inherent.
Inherent.
Yeah.
So Akma, why do you think we should use the extend relationship?
Yeah, in addition to what Mitchell said, it's because the rate experience function is not mandatory.
That's just it. So because it is not mandatory, but it comes immediately, we need to perform it whenever we submit votes. However, it is not mandatory, we use an extend relationship, not because it is parent or inheriting.
Yeah.
For include, there's also parent and inheriting.
Yeah.
Right. So you need to be able to understand when to use extend and when to use include. So we use extend relationship. So I'm going to click on this, and the arrowhead should point to the parent. So this is our extend relationship. Now, for logouts, also the eligible voter. For logouts, the eligible voter, Control D. Okay. Also, our system admin logs out as well.
Yeah.
Then who opens and closes election? The EMC.
EMC,
right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so that is it. But there's one more thing, and there's a requirement that I want us to look at here.
Can I have a question before we go to that?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Please go back to the model. So I think EMC should also log out, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. You can go on now.
Which is what I want to do now. I want to.
Okay.
Now, if you look at here, I want to get a requirement. Okay. I want to show us something from the requirements. Now, Mitchell, can you read this requirement 21 for us? What it says?
The EMC should be able to vote, hence they can perform all activities that an eligible voter can perform.
That means there is a relationship between eligible voter and EMC with that requirement. Everything that an eligible voter can do, an EMC should be able to do it, which is eligible voter should be able to vote. Eligible voter should be able to view vacant position, log in, view candidates, choose candidate to vote, submit vote, rate experience, and even log out. So there's a relationship. Now, from just what we've learned in class, which of the relationships do we use to represent actor-to-actor relationship? Michelle, give it a try. Which of these relationships helps us to represent actor-to-actor relationships? Okay, how about you, Ahmad?
Generalization.
Okay, generalization relationship. That is what we use to represent actor-to-actor relationship. So, and for generalization, so you have it here, this way. So this completes our use case model for the e-voting solution we want to deploy for IIBA. That is what use case model is. Now, if a technical person, a software engineer, right, sees this, you have communicated 1,000 things to him with just this drawing. You're simply telling that person that super admin should only have access to these features and not more than that in the system. The eligible voter should only have access to these features. The EMC should have access to all these features plus these additional features.
Wow. Wow.
That's what you're telling the software engineer. So you've communicated to that person without even writing statement or sentence or paragraph. You've been able to you're able to communicate the interaction between actors and the system. How should EMC interact with the system? Okay, it should interact by doing this, and doing every other thing the eligible voter can do. How should super admin interact with the system? They should be able to do this, and this. How should eligible voter interact with the system? They should be able to perform all these actions. You've been able to efficiently and effectively communicate without having to write grammar and write English upon English. That is what use case model, and that is what models help us to achieve. Mitchell, do you get it? Do you understand what we just did? Same with Ahmad.
Yes.
So if I ask you to try out a use case model on something, is this something you're able to try out?
Sure, I can.
Okay, awesome. So thankfully today we have a lot of time left in the class, right? So I'd like you to take the remaining 40, 45 minutes or 15 minutes of the class to do an assignment and send to me like in the next 45 minutes. We all use WhatsApp, right? We all use WhatsApp to do things. I want you to list out, to the best of your knowledge or your understanding, the functions of features or actions on WhatsApp system that you know. Set up your accounts, right? Chats, create group chats, make voice call, send a chat, send images, send location, all of those things. Make voice call, post status, view status, all of those. Write them down and then draw a use case model, a UML use case model for WhatsApp with the functions or actions you'll be able to identify. At least try as much as possible to identify a minimum of 10 functionalities of WhatsApp and draw a use case model for that. So that's what I want you guys to do as an assignment, which is aside your projects. So I want you guys to do that as an assignment. This is 11 minutes past 1. So we have approximately 45 to 49 minutes to do that. So that brings us to the end of the class today. I'll just stop recording so we can discuss other things as well.